The Great Hall on Nexus Prime was bigger than any building on Earth. Its crystal walls reached up so high that clouds formed near the ceiling. 12 different alien species sat around the massive circular table, their strange forms casting weird shadows under the bright lights. At the far end sat the humans, looking small and ordinary compared to the giants and energy beings around them. Admiral Kate Murphy wore her best uniform but felt tired. She had been fighting this battle for 3 years now, not with guns or ships, but with words and papers. The galaxy wanted something from humanity that she could never give them. They wanted humans to stop being human. The Zelhari ambassador stood up first. His body looked like it was made of living crystal, all sharp edges and bright colors. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. He held up a datapad that glowed with alien writing. The Galactic Council has made its final decision, the Zelhari said. Humanity must accept these terms or face complete isolation from galactic society. Murphy had read those terms many times. The aliens wanted humans to give up all their weapons. They wanted human soldiers to hand over their ships and guns. They wanted human scientists to stop making new things that might be dangerous. Most crazy of all, they wanted to change human DNA to make people less angry and less willing to fight. Captain Jack Sullivan sat next to Murphy. He was young for a captain but had seen enough war to make him look older. His hands were tight fists on the table as he listened to the demands. He remembered when these same aliens had begged for human help when pirates attacked their worlds. Now they called humans too dangerous to live free. The reptilian Korthax delegate spoke next. His voice was deep and rough like stones grinding. Together, humans are unpredictable, he said. When other species have problems, they think carefully and plan for years. Humans act fast without thinking. This makes them dangerous to galactic peace. An ethereal floated near the ceiling, its gas-like body held together by a metal suit. Its electronic voice buzzed with static. Human emotions are too strong. They feel anger and sadness and love with too much power. These feelings make them do crazy things. They must be controlled for the good of all. Murphy wanted to laugh but kept her face calm. These aliens talked about human emotions like they were a disease. They forgot that human emotions had saved their lives many times. When the plague hit the Centauri worlds, human doctors worked day and night without sleep to find a cure. When pirates captured Korthak's children, human soldiers risked their lives to save them. When the ethereal homeworld caught fire, humans flew into the flames to rescue survivors. But now the same species that had cried for help wanted to cut out the part of humanity that made them willing to help. They wanted humans to be calm and logical like machines. They wanted to take away the fire that made humans run toward danger instead of away from it. The Centauri delegate looked uncomfortable. His people had been friends with humans for 50 years. They had made money together and fought enemies together. But even he nodded when the others spoke about controlling humanity. "We do not hate humans," the Centauri said in his musical voice. "But we fear what they might become. Already they build weapons we cannot understand. Already their ships are faster than ours and their computers smarter than ours. What happens when they decide they do not need the rest of us?" Murphy stood up slowly. The huge room became quiet. Even the air seemed to stop moving as every alien eye and sensor turned toward her. She had practiced this moment in her mind for weeks, but now that it was here, she felt strangely calm. "The United Earth government has considered your proposal very carefully," she said. Her voice carried clearly across the vast space. "We have talked about it for months. We have asked our people what they think. We have looked at every part of your demands." The aliens leaned forward. Some of them looked excited, thinking the humans would finally give up. Others looked worried. Maybe sensing what was coming, Murphy picked up her papers and put them in her briefcase with slow, careful movements. "Our answer is no." The word hung in the air like a bomb that had not exploded yet. Several aliens made shocked sounds. The Zelhari's crystal body flashed bright red. The Korthax delegate hissed like an angry snake. "But that is not all," Murphy continued. The United Earth government is also withdrawing from every treaty we have signed with the Galactic Council. We are ending all trade agreements. We are leaving all defense pacts. Starting right now, humanity has no official relationship with any of your governments. Now the bomb exploded. The room filled with alien voices making sounds of anger and fear. The Zalhari ambassador's crystal body was flashing so many colors it looked like a disco ball. The ethereal's gas form swirled like a tornado. The Korthax was roaring words in his own language that probably were not polite. You cannot do this, the Zalhari shouted over the noise. You need us more than we need you. Your people depend on galactic trade. Your colonies need our protection. Without the Council, humanity will be alone in a dangerous galaxy. Murphy walked toward the door with Captain Sullivan and the rest of the human team behind her. The alien. Voices grew louder and more angry with each step. At the doorway, she turned back to look at the chaos she was leaving behind. Do we? She asked with a small smile. Then the humans walked out, leaving behind a galaxy that thought it had just gotten rid of a problem. They had no idea that the real problem was just beginning. They had no idea how much they needed the species they had just driven away. They had no idea that walking away was exactly what humans did best, and exactly what would destroy everything they had built together over the past century. The Great Hall fell silent as the alien. Delegates looked at each other and wondered what they had just done. The first sign of trouble came 6 hours after the humans left Nexus Prime, the Galactic Stock Exchange, which had been running smoothly for 200 years, suddenly crashed. Numbers that had been going up for decades started falling so fast that the computers could not keep track of them. On the trading floor of the exchange, aliens from dozens of species stared at their screens in shock. The Altarian traders, with their bug-like faces and quick movements, clicked their mandibles in distress. The peaceful Drakneri, who looked like walking trees, swayed back and forth as if blown by a strong wind. Even the logical synthetics, who were basically living computers, seemed confused by what they were seeing. A young Centauri trader named Zek looked at his datapad and felt sick. Terran Industries just lost 40% of its value, he said to his partner. Morrison. Manufacturing is down 60%. All the human companies are crashing, but so are ours. His partner, an older Centauri named Vil, understood what was happening before most others did. It is not just the human companies, he said quietly. Look at the mining stocks. Look at the shipping companies. Look at anything that uses human technology or human materials. Across the galaxy, the same scene was playing out on thousands of worlds. The Zalhari had built their entire mining operation around machines designed by human engineers. These machines were so complex that only humans really understood how to fix them when they broke down. Now those machines were starting to fail, and there were no human technicians to call for help. On the mining world of Kepler 442b, a massive extraction machine worth more than some planets suddenly stopped working. The Zalhari workers gathered around it, their crystal bodies flashing different colors as they tried to figure out what was wrong. The head engineer, a being named Prism 9, had called human technical support so many times over the years that he knew the number by heart. But when he tried to call, all he got was a message saying that human technical support was no longer available to non-human clients. The machine sat silent in the middle of the mining pit like a dead metal giant, and with it died the production of rare metals that fed factories across 3-star systems. The same thing was happening everywhere. On Arcturus Station, the massive computers that controlled shipping traffic throughout the sector started showing error messages. These computers had been built by humans 20 years ago, and every few months human technicians would visit to update the software and replace worn parts. The last human visit had been 2 months ago, and the computers were starting to fail. Station Commander Helix, a synthetic being who was part machine and part organic brain, watched his screens fill with red warning lights. Ships were getting lost because the navigation computers could not talk to each other. Cargo vessels were crashing into each other because the traffic control system was giving wrong directions. In just one day, 3 ships had been destroyed and dozens more were stranded in space. The Korthax military was having an even worse time. General Vex stood on the bridge of his flagship and stared at screens that showed nothing but static. The targeting computers that helped his gunners hit enemy ships had crashed. The communications systems that let him talk to his other ships were failing. Even the toilets on his ship were not working right because they used human-designed waste processing systems. "How is this possible?" he roared at his technical staff. "We are the mighty Korthax. We have been building starships for 1,000 years." His chief engineer, a smaller Korthax named Scalebright, looked embarrassed. "General, we have been using human components in our ships for 50 years. They were cheaper and better than what we could make. Our own factories stopped making these parts decades ago because the human parts work so much better." General Vex felt something he had never felt before in his long military career. He felt helpless. His fleet of 300 warships, the terror of pirates and rebels throughout the galaxy, was becoming useless because they could not get replacement parts from Earth, but the worst discovery was yet to come. Dr. Amy Foster sat in her office on Earth and read through reports that her team had been preparing for months. As the head of the Human Xenobiology Department, she had been studying the other species for years. What she had found was something that the aliens had never realized about themselves. "Mr. President," she said during an emergency video call, with President Lisa Johnson, "the other species are not as independent as they think they are. Our analysis shows that humans have become essential to their civilization in ways they never understood." President Johnson, sitting in her office in Geneva, looked tired but interested. "What do you mean, Doctor?" Dr. Foster pulled up charts and graphs on her screen. "Humans make up only 3% of the galactic population, but we provide 40% of all rare Earth materials. We build 60% of all advanced computer systems. We run almost all of the rapid response logistics networks that keep goods moving between star systems." She switched to another chart. "But it goes deeper than that. Human psychology is different from other species. When there is a crisis, other species form committees and hold meetings and debate for weeks about what to do. Humans just act. We see a problem and we fix it, even if it is dangerous or expensive." The president was beginning to understand. "So, when pirates attack or disasters happen, the other species always called us," Dr. Foster finished. "Not because we were the strongest or the smartest, but because we were the only ones who would drop everything and rush to help immediately. Without us, they have no rapid response to anything." As if to prove her point, the first emergency calls started coming in. A Centauri trading ship called the Golden Wing had been traveling between star systems when its navigation computer failed. The ship was now lost somewhere in the void between stars, with 300 passengers and crew aboard. They were broadcasting distress calls on all frequencies, begging for help. In the old days, the call would have gone to the Human Rescue Service, and ships would have been launched within an hour. But Earth's communication networks had gone dark to outside traffic. The calls for help went unanswered. On Arcturus 3, an earthquake had damaged the main city and trapped hundreds of people under collapsed buildings. The local authorities had equipment that could move small rocks, but only human-made heavy rescue machines could lift the massive concrete slabs that were crushing the survivors. The calls for help kept coming, but Earth stayed silent. For the first time in decades, the galaxy faced emergencies without human help, and they quickly discovered that no one else was willing or able to respond quickly enough to save lives. The species that had demanded humanity's removal were learning their first lesson about what life would be like without humans around. 2 weeks after the humans walked away from the peace talks, the galaxy faced its first real test without human protection. In the dark space between star systems, a massive fleet of pirate ships powered up their engines and set course for the Zalhari core worlds. The Crimson Fleet had been waiting for this moment for 20 years. Captain Nex stood on the bridge of his flagship, a massive battle cruiser called the Bloodfang. He was not entirely alien. His body was half organic and half machine, with glowing red cybernetic eyes and metal arms that could crush steel. He had been fighting humans for most of his life and losing every time. Now, finally, his enemies were gone. "Signal all ships," he commanded his crew. "Today we stop hiding in the dark corners of space. Today we take what should have been ours all along." The Crimson Fleet was huge, over 200 warships of all sizes, from small fighters to massive dreadnoughts. Most of their technology had been stolen from human military bases over the years, which made them more advanced than the official fleets of most galactic governments. For decades, they had been too afraid to attack major targets because human patrol ships would respond within hours, but the human patrol ships were gone now. The rapid response fleets that had kept pirate activity limited to small raids were back on Earth, and Earth was not answering calls for help anymore. The first Zelhari world to be attacked was Crystal 7, a mining planet with a population of 50 million. The Planetary Defense Force had 12 old patrol ships and a few orbital weapons platforms. Against the Crimson Fleet, they lasted exactly 17 minutes. Governor Crystal Prime, the leader of the planet, sent desperate messages to the Galactic Council as pirate ships landed in the major cities. "We need immediate military assistance. Our defense fleet has been destroyed. The pirates are taking hostages." But the Council was having its own problems. The emergency meeting hall on Nexus? Prime was in chaos as representatives from dozens of species tried to figure out what to do. The Zelhari ambassador's crystal body was flashing so many colors that other delegates had to wear special glasses to look at him. "Where is the rapid response fleet?" he demanded. "Where are the human patrol ships that are supposed to protect?" "U.S.?" The council president, an ancient ethereal named Whisper of Stars, floated at the center of the room like a sad ghost. "The humans have withdrawn all their ships to Earth space. They are not responding to our emergency calls." The Korthax military representative, General Vex, tried to sound confident, but everyone could hear the worry in his voice. "The Korthax Defense Force will handle this situation. We have dealt with pirates before." But privately, General Vex knew his fleet was in no condition to fight anyone. Half his ships were still broken down from computer failures. The ones that were working had targeting systems that missed more often than they hit. His proud military, which had once been the terror of the galaxy, could barely protect its own homeworlds. The Ethereals offered to help by sending positive energy vibrations and forming a committee to study the pirate problem. The peaceful Draknari suggested trying to negotiate with the pirates and find out what they really wanted. The synthetics ran calculations and announced that they needed 6 months to plan a proper response. While the politicians talked, Captain Nex and his pirates were taking action. They captured Crystal 7 in 2 days, then moved on to the next Zelhari world. Their strategy was simple but effective. Hit fast, take everything valuable, and move on before anyone could organize a response. On Earth, Admiral Kate Murphy sat in the Human Defense Command Center and watched the chaos unfold. Banks of monitors showed her intelligence reports from across the galaxy. Lieutenant Commander Pete Johnson, her head of intelligence, brought her the latest updates. "Ma'am, the Crimson Fleet has now attacked 5 Zelhari worlds. The local defense forces are completely overwhelmed. Casualty reports are coming in from 3 different planets." Murphy studied the tactical displays with the eye of someone who had been fighting pirates for 30 years. "How long would it take us to get there and deal with this?" "With the 7th Fleet? 18 hours to reach the Zelhari sector, maybe 6 hours to hunt down and destroy the entire Crimson Fleet." Murphy nodded. In the old days, that would have been exactly what happened. Human ships would have appeared out of hyperspace. The pirates would have been destroyed or scattered, and the galaxy would have gone back to business as usual. The humans would have been thanked politely and then forgotten until the next crisis. But these were not the old days. President Lisa Johnson called an emergency meeting of her cabinet. Secretary of State Helen Davis was the first to speak. "Madam President, we are receiving hundreds of requests for assistance, not just from the Galactic Council but from individual planets and species. They are offering us anything we want in exchange for military intervention." Defense Secretary Tim Rogers looked grim. The situation is getting worse by the hour. Intelligence reports show that other pirate fleets are mobilizing. The Iron Skulls are moving against the ethereal worlds. The Shadow Syndicate is raiding Centauri trade routes. They all see the same opportunity that Nex saw. President Johnson rubbed her temples. She had not slept well since the humans walked out of the peace talks. What are our options? Secretary Davis opened her datapad. We could offer limited assistance. Send a small fleet to deal with the immediate threat, then use that as leverage to negotiate better terms with the Council. But Secretary Rogers shook his head. Madam President, with respect, that is exactly what we have been doing for 50 years. We solve their problems, they thank us, then they go back to fearing us and trying to control us. This time is different. They did not just want us to help less, they wanted to change what we are. The president looked out the window at the peaceful Earth below. Somewhere out in space, innocent people were dying because human ships were not coming to save them. But those same innocent people had voted for leaders who wanted to modify human DNA, to make humans less willing to fight for others. The breaking point came when the pirates captured the passenger liner Aurora's Dream. The ship was carrying 3,000 Korthax children on an educational trip to see the galaxy. Captain Next himself led the boarding party, and his demands were broadcast across every news network in known space. I want the Galactic Council to recognize pirate territorial claims in the Outer Rim, he announced, standing on the ship's bridge while terrified children huddled behind him. I want all military patrols withdrawn from 3 entire sectors. And I want it done in 24 hours, or these children start dying? The galaxy watched in horror as the threat played out on live television. For the first time in living memory, a major atrocity was happening while the human rescue fleet sat on Earth doing nothing. In the council chambers, the alien delegates finally understood what they had lost when they drove the humans away. The proud Galactic Council had been reduced to refugees hiding in underground bunkers. The Nexus Prime orbital stations burned in space above them like dying stars, while pirate ships patrolled the debris field like hungry sharks. 3 weeks without human protection, and the government that had ruled the galaxy for centuries was running for its life. Ambassador Blue 7 of the Altarian Republic was the first to break. The insect-like being clicked his mandibles nervously as he recorded a secret message in his private chambers. His compound eyes reflected the light from dozens of small screens showing the destruction across his territory. Human friends, he began, his translator making his clicking sounds into words. The hive mind acknowledges great error. We were afraid of your strength, but now we see that strength was protecting us. The collective seeks forgiveness and asks for your assistance. His message included detailed intelligence about pirate movements that only the Altarian spy network could have gathered. Worker drones had been watching and listening throughout the galaxy, and their information showed just how bad things had become. 7 major pirate fleets were now active, controlling territory that included over 300 inhabited worlds. Within hours, other species began sending their own desperate messages to Earth. The Korthax, who valued honor above everything else, found it almost impossible to admit they needed help. But General Vex swallowed his pride and made a recording that would have seemed impossible just weeks before. Human warriors, he said, his reptilian face showing emotions that Korthax rarely displayed in public. The Korthax Defense Force requires your expertise. Our ships are dead metal without your systems. Honor demands that we admit our failure in this matter. The recording showed Korthax soldiers trying to manually operate their own starships, pushing buttons and pulling levers like children playing with toys they did not understand. It was both pathetic and unprecedented, the proud Korthax admitting. They could not use their own military equipment. The Ethereals, who had always considered themselves too sophisticated for physical warfare, sent the most desperate message of all. Their homeworld was under siege by the Iron Skull's pirate fleet, and their energy-based bodies were trapped inside failing mechanical shells as electromagnetic weapons shut down their cities. We offer all our accumulated knowledge, the Council, of whispers transmitted to Earth. Every scientific discovery, every technological breakthrough, every cultural achievement of our species. Please, we are dying. President Lisa Johnson sat in the secure bunker beneath Geneva and read through the flood of messages. Each one offered something different: money, technology, territory, resources. The Centauri offered exclusive trading rights worth trillions of credits. The Drachneri offered to share their secret agricultural techniques that could feed entire star systems. Even the synthetics, who had always been secretive about their advanced computing methods, offered to share their core programming. But for every message of surrender and negotiation, there was also news of more death and destruction. Secretary of Defense Tim Rogers brought her the latest intelligence reports, and none of it was good news. "The Iron Skulls have taken the ethereal homeworld," he said, pointing to red zones on the galactic map. "Admiral Corax is using our own stealth technology against them, equipment they stole from our depot ships 5 years ago. The Ethereals never saw the attack coming." "What about the Aurora's Dream?" the president asked. "Still under pirate control. Captain Nex is using those children as human shields while he negotiates with the Council. He knows that as long as he has hostages, no one will attack his fleet directly." President Johnson looked at the tactical displays that showed human ships sitting idle in Earth orbit. The most powerful military force in the galaxy was doing nothing while children were held at gunpoint. It went against every human instinct, and she could see the strain on her military commanders. Admiral Murphy entered the room looking like she had not slept in days. "Madam President, I need to speak with you privately." They walked to a smaller conference room where Murphy activated the security shields that would keep their conversation secret. When she spoke, her voice was tired but determined. "Ma'am, I have been a soldier for 30 years. I have fought pirates and rebels and invaders across half the galaxy. I have watched good people die because we arrived too late, and I have watched bad people escape because politicians told us to be careful about collateral damage." She activated a holographic display that showed the Aurora's Dream surrounded by pirate ships. "Those children are going to die, Madam President. Not because we cannot save them, but because we are choosing not to save them. I understand the political reasons. I understand why we cannot go back to being the galaxy's unpaid police force. But I cannot stand by and watch children die when I have the power to save them." President Johnson studied the tactical situation. "What are you proposing, Admiral? Operation Homecoming, not a rescue mission, a war? We do not go back to the old way of carefully managing crises and trying to minimize casualties. We go in with everything we have and we end the pirate threat permanently. All of it. Every fleet, every base, every ship." The president understood what Murphy was really saying. The humans would not return as peacekeepers or negotiators. They would return as conquerors, and the galaxy would learn what human military power looked like when it was not restrained by politics or diplomacy. "The alien governments will see this as an invasion," President Johnson said. "Let them," Murphy replied. "They wanted us gone. Now they will learn what that really means. We will not be their police force anymore. We will not be their rescue service anymore. We will not be their technological support anymore. But we will also not allow children to be murdered while we have the power to prevent it." And the president walked to the window and looked up at the night sky. Somewhere out there, 3,000 children were waiting to die while the adults who were supposed to protect them argued about politics and territory. It was not a decision any leader should have to make, but the aliens had forced her hand when they decided that humans were too dangerous to be trusted. How long would it take? She asked. 72 hours to mobilize the full fleet. Another 72 hours to reach every major pirate stronghold in the galaxy simultaneously. After that, Duffy shrugged. However long it takes to clean up the mess. President Johnson thought about the messages from the alien governments, all of them begging for help while offering everything they had. They had spent 3 years trying to control humanity, and now they were learning what humanity was like when it chose not to be controlled. "Authorization granted, Admiral. But I want one thing understood. This is not the beginning of a new relationship with the galactic community. This is the end of our old relationship. After this, we are strangers." Admiral. Murphy saluted and left to prepare for war. Within hours, the largest human fleet in history began mobilizing for Operation Homecoming. But this would not be the careful, measured response that the galaxy was used to. This would be total war, and the pirates were about to learn why the other species had been afraid of humanity in the first place. The galaxy had wanted to see what humans were like without restraint. They were about to find out. Admiral Kate Murphy stood on the bridge of the battleship, Earth's Fury, and watched as the largest human fleet in history prepared to jump into hyperspace. 2,000 warships spread out in formation around her, from small destroyers to massive dreadnoughts that could crack planets in half. This was not the careful, limited response that the galaxy had grown used to over the decades. This was total war. "All ships report ready for hyperspace jump," reported Captain Tony Martinez from his position at the tactical station. He had been fighting pirates for 15 years, always following rules of engagement that protected civilian targets and minimized casualties. Today, those rules no longer applied. Murphy activated the fleet-wide communication system. Her voice reached every ship simultaneously, speaking to over 500,000 human soldiers and sailors who were about to show the galaxy what human military power looked like when it was unleashed without political restrictions. "This is Admiral Murphy to all ships. Today we end the pirate threat to galactic civilization, but we do not do it as peacekeepers or as galactic police. We do it as strangers cleaning up a mess that others created. When this operation is over, we return to Earth and we stay there. The galaxy wanted independence from human influence. After today, they will have it forever." The jump into hyperspace began simultaneously across 17 different star systems. Human ships appeared out of nowhere around pirate bases that had never been attacked by organized military forces. The pirates had grown comfortable raiding helpless civilians and running away when real warships appeared. They had never faced an enemy that arrived without warning and struck without mercy. Commander Lisa Park led the assault on the Crimson Fleet's main base in the Cygnus sector. The base was built inside a huge asteroid that had been hollowed out and filled with docking bays, weapons factories, and living quarters for 50,000 pirates. In the old days, human forces would have demanded surrender and tried to minimize casualties among the non-combatants. Today was different. Park's battle group did not bother with warnings or surrender demands. They simply opened fire with their most powerful weapons. The asteroid base, which had existed for over 30 years, ceased to exist in under 5 minutes. It became an expanding cloud of dust and debris, carrying with it the dreams of every pirate who had thought the galaxy was now defenseless. The rescue of the Aurora's dream became a perfect example of human military efficiency when political considerations were removed. Captain Nex had been using the ship as a mobile headquarters, confident that no one would attack while children were aboard. He had never seen human teleportation technology used for military purposes. Captain Martinez led the rescue operation personally. His team did not board the ship to negotiate or to carefully separate hostages from pirates. Instead, they used precision teleportation to remove every single child and crew member from the ship in under 4 minutes, leaving behind only dead pirates in a vessel rigged with explosives. The children appeared safely aboard human rescue ships before Captain Nex even realized what was happening. By the time he figured out that his hostages were gone, his ship was already expanding debris field and space dot across the galaxy. Similar scenes played out as human forces demonstrated technology and tactics that they had kept carefully hidden. During their years as reluctant peacekeepers, stealth ships that no sensor system could detect struck pirate fleets that never saw death coming. Weapons that could destroy entire moons eliminated pirate strongholds that had been considered impregnable. Most impressively, a logistics network that could move supplies and reinforcements anywhere in the galaxy within hours supported simultaneous attacks on targets separated by thousands of light years. The Iron Skull's fleet, which had been terrorizing the ethereal homeworld for weeks, lasted exactly 37 minutes against the human task force that appeared in their rear. Admiral Corax, the cybernetic pirate leader who had been using stolen human stealth technology, found himself facing the original designers of that same technology. His advanced sensors could not track human ships that had been built to be invisible. To their own detection systems, General Vex of the Korthax military watched the human assault from his crippled flagship and felt emotions he could not name. Relief that the threat was being eliminated, shame that his own forces had been useless, and a growing terror as he realized what the humans had been holding back during all their years as galactic peacekeepers. "How?" he asked his technical staff, as they watched human ships destroy in hours what his military could not have handled in months. "How did we never know they were this powerful?" His chief engineer, Scalebright, studied the sensor readings with growing amazement. "General, they were never trying to win quickly before. They were trying to win carefully. Every time they helped us, they used just enough force to solve the problem without showing us how much force they really had." The truth was becoming clear to military commanders throughout the galaxy. For 50 years, humans had been solving galactic crises while deliberately hiding their true capabilities. They had used small fleets when they could have used large ones. They had used conventional weapons when they possessed planet killers. They had negotiated with enemies they could have simply erased from existence. They had been playing by rules that no one else was following, limiting themselves to appear less threatening to species that were completely dependent on their protection. But now the restraints were gone. The political considerations that had kept human military power in check no longer applied. The galaxy was seeing humanity's true strength for the first time, and it was terrifying. Within 72 hours, every major pirate fleet in the galaxy had been destroyed or scattered. Strongholds that had existed for decades were reduced to radioactive dust. Pirates who had terrorized entire sectors were floating dead in space. The threat that had nearly destroyed galactic civilization was simply gone, erased as if it had never existed. When the fighting ended, the human fleet did not establish occupation forces or set up peacekeeping stations. They did not open communication channels with grateful governments or begin negotiations for new treaties. Instead, they simply vanished back into human space as quickly as they had appeared. The only message they left behind was a galaxy-wide broadcast from Admiral Murphy. Her face appeared on every screen in known space, and her words would be remembered long after the governments that heard them had fallen. "To the species of the galaxy," she began, "you spent 3 years telling us that we were dangerous when restrained by law, conscience, and diplomatic necessity. You were correct to fear us, but for the wrong reasons. We were never dangerous as your partners and allies. We are dangerous as your strangers and enemies." The message continued with a simple declaration that sent shock waves through every alien government. "Effective immediately, human space is closed to all non-human vessels. Our defensive perimeter extends 50 light-years beyond our outermost colonies. Any ship, military or civilian, that crosses this boundary will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. We will no longer respond to distress calls from non-human vessels. We will no longer provide humanitarian aid to alien populations. We will no longer participate in galactic commerce or trade. We will no longer share our technology or scientific discoveries. We will no longer train your military personnel or maintain your equipment." The final part of the message cut the deepest. "You demanded independence from human influence, and you now have it. Forever. Do not contact us again." As the transmission ended, economists and political analysts across the galaxy began calculating the true cost of humanity's permanent withdrawal. Without human manufacturing, most advanced technology would stop working within months. Without human mining operations, the rare materials that powered galactic civilization would become impossibly expensive. Without human logistics networks, trade between distant worlds would slow to a crawl, but the economic collapse was nothing compared to the military implications. Every government leader who had watched the human assault on the pirate fleets understood that they had been living under the protection of a species that could have conquered them all at any time. The humans had chosen to be partners instead of masters, and the galaxy had repaid that choice with fear and ultimatums. President Lisa Johnson sat in her office on Earth and read through the flood of new messages from alien governments. These were different from the desperate pleas for help that had come during the pirate crisis. These were formal documents of surrender, offering complete submission to human authority in exchange for protection and trade. The Zelhari offered to become a human protectorate, giving Earth complete control over their government and military. The Korthax proposed a tributary relationship where they would pay Earth huge amounts of resources in exchange for continued existence. Even the proud ethereals offered to share all their knowledge and serve as willing subjects of a human empire, but Johnson deleted each message without reading it completely. The time for negotiation had passed. The galaxy had made its choice when it demanded that humanity submit to alien control, and now humanity had made its choice in return. Dr. Amy Foster presented her final report on the galactic situation to the President's cabinet.